Pluto Retrograde coming up. Well, we're already in it. From May 6th to October 15th is really going to have us look at all of our wounds, all of our deeper psychological motivations, all of that stuff that we bury and that we dig up from the past that we want to repress. Pluto is getting in there and having us really take a look at all of our stuff to be able to evolve it and heal it and let it go. Because that's what Pluto wants, is for us to look at it in the eye and say, you know what? No, I'm going to deal with this. And then I am going to release it. And that's what I'm going to be really doing. So, it really is an excavator. It just digs down into the depths of things. It really asks us to purge what we need to purge in order to grow. And in Aquarius, everything having to do with community dynamics and technology and all the things that I'm going to be delving into in part 1 of this series I'm doing on Pluto and Aquarius. This is part 1. Part 2 is coming tomorrow, where I'm talking about how it impacts all 12 zodiac signs. When it comes to what they need to know for, how navigating and making the most of Pluto and Aquarius. And in those videos, I do not use the whole sign house system to do horoscopes, because I think that the whole sign house system is shallow. You can only go so deep with it. Saying, this Pluto for Gemini is going to be retrograding your 11th house or whatever. I don't know. And so it's going to be you're going to be transforming dynamics in your groups and communities. Like, okay. Even the most advanced astrology, I mean, there are a couple exceptions, I guess, but I just think that it's just shallow and meaningless, and it needs the depth. And I think that I find it like an insult. An insult. Like, it's a disrespect to the signs. Like, oh, why don't we just throw you a pet rock and just do, this is happening in your 8th house. That's like you expecting to get a whole pie and somebody gives you half the pie. Somebody saying that you're going to go to Paris, France, and instead they take you to Paris, Texas. Instead, it's not what you wanted. It's not really giving the signs the full respect that they deserve with this house system. It has zero to do with the signs. And nobody's going to be, some will not be as savvy enough to look in their chart to see where these things fall, where these placements and these transits fall in their charts. I'm not going to use it. I'm never going to use it. It is not my cup of tea at all, and it makes me so angry when astrologers use that. All of them do it the same way. Just because it's accurate, just because it works, doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's good. Because in my mind, it's not. And if I am an astrologer, then I'll do it my own way, and, has to be revolutionized. and changed and shaken up? Don't they talk about Uranus shaking things up? Don't they talk about Aquarius wanting to reinvent the wheel, wanting to go in and change something and be a maverick and be an individual, be unique? Well, I'm going to be that and say, astrologers, you need to change this. You need to change this, and you need to talk more about the signs and not just houses. I mean, yeah, great for an astrology consultation. Not so great for YouTube and horoscopes on a video. So we have to get that straight, and sometime I hope that they get that straight and really have a meeting and reconsider how they do their horoscopes. And I hope that somebody's going to spread the word and see if they can actually get in there and do something to change up how they do it. Because it really, it infuriates me. It really does. So, rant over. I'm going to delve into Pluto and Aquarius now. The collective look at Pluto and Aquarius with what it means. Pluto retrograde in this particular area of the sky, in this part of the sky. So, Pluto entered Aquarius back in November 2024, November 19th, and it will stay here until 2044. So Pluto spends anywhere from 12 to 30 to 31 years in a given sign. And it can vary. Sometimes Pluto stays in signs for a short amount of time, and sometimes a longer amount of time. That's just, what we are working with that. So, alright, so Pluto is going to be retrograde retrograde back May 16th. It's going to stay retrograde until October 15th, mid-October. This is what Pluto usually does. Goes retrograde at the end of May. It'll do this for a while. It'll go direct in the middle of October. It has been since, as far as I'm concerned, 2020, 2021. That's as far as I can trace it back. So yeah. Now, it will be retrograde. You want to look in your chart to see which house area will be impacted, possibly, by this transit between 5 degrees to 3 degrees. Now, when I do the horoscope, I'm not going to give you the house interpretation, but it still is important to also look at which area of life will be changed and transformed during the time that Pluto is retrograde in Aquarius for your own self in your own life. So, all right. So, we've had all the planets in direct motion since March 20th because Mercury went direct March 20th. It was retrograde in Pisces from February 26th to March 20th, and really did a lot of things with the spiritual arenas. Very intuitive time, very time when a lot of deceptions and illusions were brought to light, and the truth was revealed in a lot of ways. So, Pluto is the first of these planets to turn retrograde. Mercury went retrograde March 20th, just in time for the spring equinox. And, the spring equinox is really, a time of new beginnings. It's a time of fresh starts. It's time, that we are really beginning again and starting off in new ground, starting a new ground, for our lives. And so this is the first of these planets to turn retrograde, to go retrograde. And when Pluto goes retrograde, this is really all about inner transformation. So what this means is that we are going inside of ourselves. We're not looking to the outside world for information, for answers, for validation, for the means to explain our ways of going about life, for our ways of mocking the different sort of orignums of what we have going on. We really look at how can we transform what needs to be transformed. What needs to be changed from the inside out and rearranged and remodeled so that we can live a fuller, more balanced, more happy life, so that we can feel happy, so that we can feel good in our own skin. So inner transformation is what we're not looking at changing the outer world, because we can't control the outer world, but we can control our own inner world. We can control our own actions and what we do. So it's a time of deep reflection, a time of we're becoming more self-aware. I always like to use astrology for the purposes of self-awareness, and we become more reflective in that way. Now, Pluto retrograde is a time for shadow work. And the thing that I want to discuss with shadow work is any part of our personality that is repressed, buried, that we don't want to look at, we are facing. Anything that is in the shadows, anything that we have not looked at, that we put aside, that we've buried under the hatchet, that we've put across the crossing of the boulders of what is going on in the mountains, we look at and say, you know what? This is worth looking at. This is worth considering. Because it is time to face what we are afraid to face. It is time to face our demons. It is time to face our shadows. So this can be repressed emotions or things about ourselves that we don't like. It's about bringing these things. With shadow work, we bring these things into, we make the unconscious conscious. We bring it into conscious awareness. And we heal ourselves through shadow work. And when we face our shadows, when we face the parts that we want to deny, reject, and disown, we feel more empowered. We feel more liberated. We feel like, I have faced this. I have gone through this. I am strong. Because I have faced my don't you feel good when you face your fears? Don't you feel accomplished? Don't you feel good, confident, feel good in your own skin when you face your fears? That's kind of how it can feel. Is that we are facing our fears, facing what we are afraid of, what we're rejecting of. So. We are delving deep into the inner world. Delving deep into our inner world with Pluto retrograde. Pluto retrograde isn't like Mercury retrograde, where communication breaks down and technology fails and there's glitches and communication goes haywire and we have miscommunications and we're reviewing our thinking, our communication, what we say, how we perceive the world, etc. it's not like Venus retrograde where possibly I will just say that my thought of Venus retrograde is there could be a lot more conflict during that time. People could be less loving. Like, love is hard to feel, love is harder to find because Venus is the planet of love and harmony. When Venus goes retrograde, that kind of is shut down and put, on the back burner, and it becomes difficult to embody that quality. And it's not like Mars retrograde, where procrastination becomes more the norm, where you just hold things in and it's hard to assert yourself, it's hard to express it, it's hard to go after your goals because you hold yourself back and you sabotage yourself because it's part of you. Like, you want to move forward, but you can't because it's hard to get going. And there's a lot of things with Mars retrograde. The next time it's going to happen is from, in 2027, and I will be discussing that when we get there in that podcast episode then. But, and just kind of a reminder about how these episodes go. I will be doing, every week, Thursday, Friday, I'll be doing a weekly transit, but then I'll also allow myself to do other weekly transits, other asterisks for the week, other days. So I'll just see how it goes. I'm not going to overthink it or overplans. I just thought I might just interject that. So, Pluto retrograde is not like any of the personal planets. It is about evolving on a soul level. How are we doing on a soul level? How are we growing, and what are we reflecting on a soul level? That's what the focus is. So, maybe we feel like we want to change our life direction. Like, Pluto may go retrograde and you're like, you know what? My soul is not in this anymore. I'm not feeling aligned with this. I'm not feeling driven to pursue this anymore. I'm not feeling driven to invest my mental, emotional, and spiritual energy into the contract has expired. The deal has been broken off. The agreement has been signed. I must complete this. I must let this go. Talking to all you Tauruses out there who do not like change, Pluto is going to ask you. And Uranus has been, on your head the past 8 years asking you to change and, radically advance your life and revolutionize your life. Pluto is going to ask you to transform. And Pluto will be squaring you. If your early degree Taurus is born between, I would say April 21st through, let's see. So I'm thinking out loud right now. So, if you're born between April 21st through April 25th, Pluto will be squaring you. Your sun sign during this time. So if you are one of the few individuals watching this, I'm sure, who was born during that time, then that's going to really impact you. Because, Pluto will be going back through those degrees and, really, really, impacting you in that kind of deep, profound, unnerving way. So maybe you want to change your life direction. Maybe you're going along on a certain path and your soul is really, really in it, but Pluto goes retrograde. And you know what? I want to review this. And it's about allowing yourself to change. Having the humility and having the courage to say, you know what? Just knowing. It's a knowing within bone. It's a knowing in your soul. Get out of your ego and just drop into your soul. And ask yourself, do I really want to continue doing this? Do I want to really continue pursuing this? Or is it outdated? Am I done with it? Is it not working for me anymore? Because Pluto doesn't want you to keep on going on the same path and just suffering yourself and doing what you're uncomfortable with and doing what you dislike and doing what brings you turmoil and wreck and anguish. But Pluto wants you to look at what is uncomfortable, look at what is not serving you so that you can let it go, so that you can live a life that is more aligned with your soul. So it does ask you when it comes to that very, very easily. So, be willing to change direction, change course if you need to. So, there could be old wounds coming up from your past. Old things that you buried, old things that you repressed. Anything that's unprocessed. Anything you don't like about yourself. Any emotional pain that somebody has caused to you. Any negative habit pattern. Or any negative dialogue or negative belief or negative message that you're releasing. Or any power dynamic. I mean, only you know what your shadows are. I can't tell you what they are because I'm not living in your skin. I'm not living your experience. So I'm saying power dynamics. What are those power dynamics that need to be looked at? Those power games between you and another, where you say one thing and the other dislikes it and the other hates it, so they fire back at you, and then you end up in a whole rigmarole of a argument and a full blowout with you don't like pie and the other says I do, and you're fighting for this pie and you're fighting for this this piece of the pie, and you're fighting for the same thing. It can be like that, where both of you want the same thing, and you're just daring, and you're just pushing each other, and you're just clubbing up against each other to get this thing. Or could be a political argument. Or could be somebody just in a work situation just seeming to have more power and control over you. It is really about moving out of what is external, moving out of what is on the outside to the inner changes in transformation. What is going on at an inner level? This is about inner changes and transformations going on within all of us individually. Now, people born with placements in the fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, will be impacted very, very hugely, and you are invited. If you have, like I have my Mercury in Taurus, for instance, at 1 degree, and my North Node in Taurus at 11 degrees, South Node in Scorpio at 11, so that'll be impacted very, very easily. But those with planets in the fixed signs or placements in the fixed signs will need to let go of control during this time. Let go of this need to rigidly hold on to, whatever they are doing, whatever they are really, really living out in their lives. And all this attachment to fixed ideas. This attachment to having to hold on to the same idea and not let it go. Like being so stubborn in your ideas that you're not willing to let these ideas go. You're not willing to, release these ideas from your life. Where there's this attachment here to these ideas. I have this idea about flies, and I'm not letting the idea about flies and how annoying and how pesky they are go. Well, really, flies are pesky, and I'm not letting the idea that bees are a nuisance go. I'm not letting the idea that flowers are poisonous go, because I'm holding on to it. So, making the most of the change going on in your life is very, very important. So for those with this placement, with fixed signs, it's about making the most of the changes that occur in your life very, very easily, very, very effectively for you. What this comes down to really is it's about getting to the root core of things, really making everything down and reducing it down to what is at the heart of it. What is at the bottom-most level of what you're actually dealing with. This could be about bringing conscious awareness to your wounds and shadows, and becoming very, very self-aware of, like, how do these wounds and shadows affect my actions, affect what I do out in the world, affect my momentum and my mojo for how I live my life, how I go about my life. How do these unprojected fears and insecurities impact me going through my life? Now, Pluto's change and transformation really is generational. Lasts, as I said, 12 to 31 years in a given sign. And it shows how humanity is evolving and how it is reinventing itself. How it is constantly changing, constantly transforming, constantly shedding old skin of versions of itself that it was, and rewiring itself into something which is more evolved, more advanced, more true to its form. And looks at really looks at profound transformations, really profound changes and transformations in society's systems and structures. It looks at all those kind of things very importantly, very significantly. Now, Pluto in Aquarius, it is, Pluto in Aquarius really, it is here to revolutionize and shake up and put a magnifying glass on how we connect to one another intellectually, how we intellectually connect and form relationships with one another. And how are we interacting with those in our community, in our society? How are we networking with them? How are we exchanging ideas? How are we sharing ideas and collaborating to achieve a common goal, to a common end? So that's what we could look at. And how is it impacting the collective? How are we impacting the collective? How are we impacting everybody and everything and everyone, around us with our actions? Because in Aquarius energy, in the age of Aquarius, which we have entered into as of March 2025, last year is when the official entrance began. When Pluto entered Aquarius, it was like we were officially, initiated into the Aquarian age. How do our actions ripple out across the world? How do our actions in our small little world, in our small little personal life, impact the whole, impact the collective? So being very, very conscious of using our Aquarian energy very wisely is what we're standpointing at the station of what we are trying to achieve and work through. Pluto in Aquarius deals with technology, and it deals with science. So technology and science are really big areas of focus, and I would say that the North Node moving through Aquarius this summer is going to bring about a scientific revolution, if you will, because the North Node is what we're heading towards. It is what's strengthening, and so science and technology and all that stuff related to science will be looked at, and it will be for our humanity's evolution. We are growing and evolving, and especially November 2027, when Pluto makes a conjunction to the North Node in very, very early degree Aquarius. So it can also be about, Pluto in Aquarius can be about technology and community. That's what it can also be really very much about when it comes to this kind of dynamic of Aquarius being about technology. It's more than just phones and computers. It's, the pen is a technology, the desk is a technology, the lamp is a technology. The tractor is a technology. I mean, all these technologies that bring in ways to make our life more easier, more efficient, and how we are evolving. And what's the sort of zeitgeist of the world at this given time based off of this technology? Based off of this new technological invention getting invented, and getting all this stuff, really, really looked at very, very importantly when it comes to what we need to look at in terms of what are we using in our life and what is getting invented for our betterment, for our evolution. So Aquarius deals with collaboration. We're collaborating, we're networking, and we're having ideals. We are having a lot of Aquarius rules, ideals, or beliefs for a more perfect, beautiful, more just world, really. So then we're going to be looking at through Pluto and Aquarius, like what does it mean to be an individual and also a part of society and of a larger community? It's a balance between these two things. What are we doing as an individual that is having an impact on the collective? Like in Aquarian energy, I am being my individual authentic self to serve the community, to serve the collective. I am being who I am and doing what my soul really feels right for me to do, marching to the beat of my own drum for the collective, for the good of all. That is what Aquarian energy is. It is like the revolutionaries, like my horoscopes, how I want to do this differently and I want to be unique in order to impact others and change the way people feel and see about horoscopes, and maybe wake people up to the fact that these 12 sign horoscopes, using the whole sign house system, is not the best approach. So, what does it mean to be an individual, and also, really impacting society and our larger community? Now, when Pluto is stationary, when a planet is stationary, it means that it's slowing down to a standstill. It's standing still in the sky. It's not moving. It's at the same degree, the same minute. And it is closer to the Earth than it would otherwise be. And when planets are closer to the Earth, stationing directions, their power is just boom, magnified, intensified. Like that planet is on flake. That planet is ruling the roost, the most powerful planet going on in the sky. When Mercury stations communication, we're feeling more communicative and more intellectual, and very much about speaking and messaging. When Mercury goes, around the time that Mercury stations, that's the time when the most glitches and most snafus and most Mercury retrograde issues sort of come up for us. And we become more aware of those things during Mercury retrograde. So, these things are intensified. Now, all of the emotional and psychological stuff that we have buried, that we have repressed, comes up to be looked at and demands that we look it in the eye, demands that we face it and fess up to it. What it's really about is doing the work. Having the bravery, having the humility and the willingness to do the work and focus on your mission to the collective. What is your what do you aim to do to better and advance and support the collective? What is that aim that you are planning on doing when it comes to how you're changing the collective? This is about becoming more introspective during retrogrades, and doing this when you're more introspective it speeds up your growth. It really, really speeds up this growth when it comes to what you want to do to grow yourself, to evolve yourself. And so introspective, this really, really gets looked at. And then, can we bring emotional and psychological awareness to our actions, being very, very aware of why we do what we do, because that's what self-awareness is. And sometime I want to do a podcast on the topic of self-awareness, because I think it's so important. And how our actions impact those around us, how our actions impact the collective, others in our community, and our personal life. How and where do we need to change as humanity? For example, in the age of Aries, we were about power over, acquisition, conquering, others. I'm right, you're wrong, being all powerful, being all mighty, and being aggressive, being domineering, being self-righteous. That's a pattern that we have got caught in. And then through the age of Pisces, we missed out on the, it was the age of Pisces were so distorted that we didn't take advantage of the gifts of the age of Pisces. And now we're coming out of the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. Now we're in the age of Aquarius now, so we can heal ourselves through that, and we can be our unique selves. We're also caring and having compassion and love for everyone around us. And so, not holding, grudges, or not, saying, I just don't respect you and all, that, and being honest about that. But not being, in a separate, like Aries is about separation, like in Aries energy, we are separating ourselves from, from others. We are, with Aries energy, we are against each other. Because Aries wants to fight, Aries wants to be an individual and separate itself from the crowd. In Aquarius, we are collaborative, we come together. It's about relationship. So, this kind of pattern is an example of how we need to change as humanity. We also need to change in our over-reliance and our uneducated qualities of choosing leaders that are not right for us, or relying too much on AI. Really. So that could be a huge part of this when it comes to changing as humanity, and also how can we change and evolve as individuals, and then what fears are coming up to the surface. What fears are really, what fears are, is Pluto having us look at and face? What taboo desires do we want to hide under a bushel? Because Pluto rules all of these taboo desires. It rules over our desires. The things that we just so desperately want, but we just feel embarrassed, and we feel ashamed, and we feel like it's best if I keep this under a bushel, if I hide it away, if I don't let anyone know about it, because others are going to use it against me, others are going to be, others are going to treat me badly, or cut me out of their lives, or think badly of me, and lose respect for me if I expose these desires. So that's Pluto energy. Like, Pluto energy is very much about keeping things hidden, because it rules Scorpio. Scorpio wants to keep things hidden. Doesn't want to just totally open themselves up and reveal themselves, whereas Sagittarius is very much the opposite. Sagittarius is very, very revealing of itself, and will, just say anything that comes to mind, anything that they feel and want to express, because Sagittarius is, bountiful, very, very generous energy. So, how are we not allowing transformation to be a part of our lives. Where are we, resisting the call to transform? And this is about being willing to let things end. Being willing to let things just die and let things, go away and come to an end so that we can let them go. Like accepting laws, accepting, these things are, gonna, like everything is temporary. All things, good or bad, come to an end. And so it is very, very important that we understand that. And in this case, I'm letting out the old patterns, letting out the bird from the nest or the bird from the cage, and letting those old patterns, old ways of being, this old soul, the life that your soul lived that is no longer in alignment with what your soul wants, to die away, so that you can be, reborn again into something new, and into something where you are ending what you need to end, letting go of what you need to let go of. How is the past impacting your psychological and emotional self? How is it impacting you psychologically and emotionally? And how are narratives, society gives us so many narratives that it imposes upon us. And these narratives impact our choices, our actions, our words, our what we really want for our life, what we aspire to. And so it's about living from the inside out and saying, I'm not going to let this narrative of society, of what society is telling me, this message of indonte, of what is telling me this, that I must have kids, or lose weight, or be a doctor or a lawyer, and not this, or I must conform to these certain rules or standards. Letting these impact your choices and desires in a way where it's taking away from us not being true to ourselves. Because we're letting society win. We're giving society more fuel. We're fueling what we don't want to fuel. We're feeding what we don't want to feed. And we're giving society more power than we want to give it. So this is really all about not letting these narratives affect our decisions and actions, where we are taken away and sucked into a whirlpool of what is not true for us. So, now, what this also can mean here is we can transform what we want in the future. Transforming what we want. Maybe we wanted one thing here, and then now we want another thing in another place, and then what are we moving towards, and why are we transforming? Why are we letting go? Why are we releasing? That's the question you could ask. This is really all about looking at your deeper psychological motivations and intentions, like looking at why you do the way you do. What are your motivations? Do you have a merry motive? There's a card from Colette's, Colette Baron Reid's Oracle of the Seven Energies. It's merry motive. Are your motives pure, out of good intention? Do you mean well? Are these motivations negative, and are they egoic, and are they going to then hurt others, hurt relationships, hurt those around us? Looking at our motivations and why, and the why, knowing our why with why we do what we do, and then what is really going on inside friendships, organizations, institutions, communities, and those dynamics going on in those environments to really, really look at, because this is, these are the things that Aquarius rules. These are the arenas of life that Aquarius rules. And then it's about stepping up when it comes to how we think about the world. Stepping up in terms of looking at how we perceive the world. Because Aquarius is, an air sign. It rules how we perceive and what we think about when it comes to the world. What we share with others in our own lives. Aquarius is, how we think, what we share, and also how we interact with our communities. So Aquarius is about thinking, and then, sharing this information out, and then seeing how we interact with those around us, how we interact with everybody, around us, how we engage with the world in that way. So, this is about, looking at the systems that probably ran very, very efficiently when Pluto was direct, like a system in relationship, for instance, investigating these things and asking a very, very profound question. Wondering, inquiring into, is everyone clear in the group? Is everybody clear? Is everyone's motivations clear in the group? And are they committed to what they are deciding to do? Is everybody committed? Is everybody driven to make it the best it can be? This is about being a part of something greater than ourselves. Because Aquarius is about the collective, Aquarius is about society, Aquarius is about transcending into society without losing who we are in doing so. Without losing our uniqueness and our identities in doing so. Maybe it can be, looking at, are you doing too much? Are you doing so much? In this way where it is like, because the negative side of Pluto energy and Scorpio energy is obsession. Like doing something so compulsively and with such intensity. You're so driven. You're so determined to the end goal that you work yourself to death. You don't take breaks. You don't rest. You don't take it slow. You're just completely blinders on. You lose sight with the present moment. You lose sight with what's going on around you. What's going on around you, with the people around you. You're kind of checked out when you're doing this. Like, being very, very compulsive in what you're doing in this way is checked out. You're checked out. Where, you are losing sight with the world around you. You're losing sight with, what your body needs. You're not doing it in a mindful way. You're doing it in a completely nosedive, obsessive way, which is Scorpio. And you're not doing it in a grounded, slow, steady, mindful way. And this is what we need to look at, because, it's Taurus season right now, and Pluto's going retrograde in Taurus season, and the Taurus moon is coming up May 16th, so, we are dealing with that energy. And so slowing down and reflecting on what we're doing and why we're doing it. And so raw emotions could come up, anything unprocessed could just come up to our awareness. Any buried patterns may rise to the surface that we didn't look at. And then asking yourself, who is draining me? Who is draining me? Who is just lowering my vibration? Who is making me feel bad about myself? Who is making me feel in a very, very low, outside in place where they are projecting on me, they are controlling me, they are imposing on me, they are an energy vampire toward me. They seem to have more power than me. So who is draining? Really, really looking at that also. And then, now the thing I'm going to say with this is, Pluto's in Aquarius. And so we really could look at how attached we are to social media, to technology, to phones, computers, all that stuff. And if we need to set limits with ourselves and take breaks in our day to, to detach and to just be present, spend time with family, read books, listen to music, or or just go out and travel. Go to some place in your town. I mean, get detached from, give yourself a detox from the technology at some points during this time. I'm not saying just detach entirely for technology for, 5 to 6 months. But what I am saying is that it's not good to always be on it 24/7, always be connected to, social media. Where you can get out into nature and you can connect with the trees, the birds, all these things, with a very, very present life. And I think that we all need that right now, is to come back to the simple, ground ourselves, bare feet on the earth, connect, becoming more grounded, becoming more centered in that way with what we can do with nature. And I may very well walk my talk with this and spend some time outside, maybe meditating outside, or maybe just sitting outside, looking at the trees, or whatever. Can really, really reset you. And it can really, really tune you back in touch with your intuition, with your higher self, with your inner self, and getting off the opinions, getting out of the opinions, disconnecting from the whole world. Because when you're on social media, when you're on the internet, you're plugged into the whole world. Like you're on YouTube or Spotify, or I don't know how long this is going to be, maybe TikTok right now, and you're, on social media, watching this, and you're, connected to everybody's accounts of what everybody's saying. It can be like too much. Overwhelm, bombardment with information, too many opinions, too many people. It's like, we can't be on social media all the time because we feel just notice. Like, I'm not saying just cut off your desire to be on social media and technology and just force yourself to just limit yourself. Like, no. When you feel like, okay, wow, noticing like I am doing this too much, and it would be very, very good for me and healthy for me if I take a break and do something else. I'm engaging too much in this. Maybe losing interest in this, wanting to do something else. But maybe, what, I'm giving too much into this, and I think that it would be better for me to do something else, to get off social media. So that becomes kind of a conversation that we sort of are dealing with at this time with social media. So, connecting to your inner world. And then, do you feel drained by social media? I go on TikTok and I tell you that algorithm is just something else because I get all these videos about, like, I open TikTok and you know what pops up immediately? You're going to go viral. You are going to get so popular. People are watching you. People are keeping tabs on you. Here's how to make yourself go viral. Do this to make yourself really, really popular. Go and do these steps. It's like I tried doing all those things to make myself viral, popular, and none of them work because you can't control the world. You can't expect to just do something and the whole world watches it. It's like that's not reality. Like I've done it, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And it's just, bombardment with that algorithm, like, the whole thing about doom scrolling or just scrolling in general, one video after another, these random videos and these, things which are like, and if you're on TikTok or whatever, and you feel like, oh my gosh, this is not aligned. What I'm watching is not aligned with my values. It's not something that I approve of. It's not something that I like, that I'm a fan of. It disgusts me or whatever. Don't watch it. Don't finish it. You don't have to finish it. Just stop watching it and just don't force yourself to engage in that stuff. And just choose what content you want. Choose, what kind of, I always say, it's nothing wrong with, being surprised at what video you're doing, but I'm just saying it would be good to, watch only your subscriptions or just search in what you want to instead of just doing what the algorithm is pulling you and just giving the algorithm your time and your energy and your attention and feeding it, because the more you do it, the more of those kind of videos are going to pop up, and I don't want to be bombarded with people telling me don't post this, do that, do this, when it comes to, because I want to grow my channel, want to grow my TikTok, so that's why I'm seeing all these videos. That algorithm is just high wired on there. It's just crazy. I saw a video, TikTok Poisoning Society or whatever, but anyway, do what you feel is right to do. Detach from it when you feel like, okay, this is the right time to detach. I want to do something else. I need to reset myself. I can't do this. I just can't do this anymore. I just feel like I'm wasting my time doing this, or I'm feeling drained, or I'm just exhausted doing this. Then stop and do something else. Don't binge watch or just get so addicted to it that you're just glued to it, and you're allowing the algorithm to just guide you along. You watch one video and then another video you want pops up. It's like, wow, just cut it off and just detach and do something else. So it's like that's what I'm saying here. So and then maybe a substitution to just being on screen time and just watching a show on TV. Like you're not glued to your screen, you're just watching it at a distance. But I would say in general, detach from the social media. So it's the last little note that I want to end this on. Thank you for listening into part 1 of this Pluto retrograde journey. I'll be back tomorrow to discuss how Pluto retrograde in Aquarius will be impacting all 12 zodiac signs. So tune in for your sun, moon, and rising sign on tomorrow's podcast episode of the Cosmic Sky Podcast. So I thank you so much for devoting your time and energy to see this whole entire video. Please subscribe. It really, really helps me out a whole lot. It helps get this video out to more individuals. But more than that, it helps, you are growing a community on YouTube which could be very, very like-minded and could be very, very focused around authenticity, love, compassion, and everyone feeling worthy to be who they are. Like, those are the kind of people that I want in this community, so I really, really encourage you to do that. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Take good care of yourself.